Philadelphia in 1776, these words were written. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In Pennsylvania, happiness has meant stability, the comfort of the known, a place where you could count on a day's pay for a day's work. It is a vast state, Pennsylvania, but not an open one. Most of it is mountainous. Farms nestled against the hills are miniature settlements. The eye, cut off from the far distance, lingers on what is close by and sees a complete universe, self-contained, self-sufficient, protected from the uncertain world outside. An endless variety of communities found welcome here. Neighborhoods drew sustenance from their extended families, be they Italian, German, Welsh, Slavic, or black. The neighborhood was full of people you knew, people like yourself, people you could count on. All over Pennsylvania, it's common to meet people who live within a few blocks of the place they were born. Better than 4 out of 5 people who live there were born there. It's not a place of restless seekers, but of people who respect and depend upon the roots they have. And that is the Pennsylvania we'll see next on Portrait of America. Pennsylvania has had more than its share of moments in the historical spotlight. The Constitution was written at Philadelphia. Washington's army spent a critical winter at Valley Forge. And a century later, the pivotal battle of the Civil War turned Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, into a killing ground. All because the Keystone State sat right in the middle of the original 13 colonies. When America was young, Philadelphia was its biggest city and busiest port. Then in the last century, America's geography changed. Its center moved further west. And Philadelphians inherited a city built to the scale of those earlier times, a city designed more for people than cars. In those older cities, there's a familiarity that people have with each other, with the neighborhoods, with the streets. There's life in those streets, a life that creates its own special culture.
Philadelphia's great, and Philadelphia's fine. There are things to see and learn, I'm sure will blow your mind. Moving up the Broadway, the people ain't gonna drown. Philadelphia is a place that'll make your spirits fly. We got the Princeton, we got the Liberty Bell, we got South Street, Civic, and our people. We ain't too come on.
The sound of doo-wop, born on a Philadelphia street corner, drawing together people from many neighborhoods.
Check it out, Joe.
Check it out.
To check out this town, you need to walk around and feel its pace. The anxious bustle of other eastern cities wouldn't fit, even on Broad Street in the heart of downtown. It was once America's capital and biggest city and still retains its dignity and distinct personality. There's an ease, an elegant grace to this old city. William Penn stands watch atop City Hall, surveying the familiar geography of 100 distinct neighborhoods, each united by its own customs, code, and history. It's a city where the past still counts. In South Philly, not far from downtown, old-fashioned values survive intact in neighborhoods like Bella Vista. Here, the most important word is respect.
How you doing, Luce? Are you gonna call the balls and strikes now?
Mark and Anthony are true sons of Bella Vista. American-born, family-centered, and Italian to the core.
Let me see a fastball. It's gonna be a tough pitch to hit. Take your time. So all you gotta do is put the ball right over. We just lived a quiet but nice and enjoyable life.
You have to swing the bat.
In the same house on the same street for the last 29 years. We'll be looking for that again. How can we both live at home? Well, we lived in the same house, as a matter of fact, all our lives. And there's really no reason to move.
Traditional standards hang on in a neighborhood where people stay their whole lives.
G, 60.
Life is secure. Friendships go back to childhood. And the children respect their elders.
And 33.
Oh my God, look at this. Go get him.
You ready? It's a bingo.
The men's world is in the next room.
Can't imagine with that, Mike.
Hey, huh?
And don't ask me for no more cards.
Okay. You know we got nice people here. They're all like brothers and sisters. It's the best recreation center in the city.
What are you putting down? What kind of game you playing over there? What kind of game you playing over
Two
there?
cards, you know?
Oh, fine.
No, this guy's cheap. He's cheap. Mixed deal. Mixed deal. Mixed deal.
That's what he's got.
Bella Vista is a village within the city. Like so many other Pennsylvanians, Eva Bellissima was born just a few blocks from where she lives.
Hi. Let me have some peppers, please. Yes.
What else you need?
And just let me have 2 pounds of potatoes.
Eva's life is very much like the life her mother led.
In our days, we weren't allowed to be out in parks or playing around in the street. You just had to stay in and learn how to cook, wash, iron, clean. We were raised to do everything for our husbands. Up until I had my back operations, my husband didn't even know where his socks were. You had to do everything for them. He was the head of the house. I still feel that way.
What are you doing?
Eva hopes her granddaughter Angela will grow up to be part of a larger world without having to sacrifice her heritage.
Oh, good. She wants to be a cook like me, but I don't want her to be a cook like me. I want her to go into computing. It's something that, in the field of today, definitely not a strictly home girl. That's it. That's your specialty. It's all right.
Vince Bellissima has been enjoying Eva's lunches for 43 years.
Are you gonna have anything?
Not now. I'm not ready for lunch.
This is good.
Today, he's got important business. Bella Vista softball is a neighborhood festival. Everyone has a part. The heroes, the hero worshipers, even the critics.
I thought it was Presbyterian.
Eva's there to watch Vince coach the boys.
Come on now, let's get up now. Come on. 15 guys.
He's Bella Vista's version of Casey Stengel.
Come on, Vince. Come on now, let's go. Come on, talk to each other in there. What are you doing?
The Bella Vista boys are up against an Irish team from another neighborhood.
All right.
Vince's team is longer on heart than on talent.
It's just one of those things that happens in every game. It's a rough game. It's baseball. One of those things. We'll get them tomorrow.
Tell him, Vince, it's not over. Talk to him.
We'll get them tomorrow. That's all I can say.
Mornings on the Schuylkill River, the scullers work at their esoteric sport. Calm, elegant, moving at a pace all its own. Rowing disciplines the mind as well as the body and demands a certain graceful consistency, all virtues in proper Philadelphia. Andalusia on the Delaware River is part of the small, exclusive enclave that is patrician Philadelphia. Here you find the Biddles, charter members of an American aristocracy.
The portrait that you see here is my great-great-great-grandfather, Charles Biddle, who was the father of Nicholas Biddle, and he was the vice president of the state of Pennsylvania at the time that Franklin was the president, but very ill. He has a very amusing autobiography. And when he comes to July 4th, 1776, he writes in his autobiography that I walked to the State House to hear the Declaration read. No one of any importance was present.
Apparently, upper-class opinion in Philadelphia wasn't much in favor of the work that had been going on in Independence Hall all through the hot, sticky June of 1776. By late in the afternoon of July 4th, the Declaration of Independence was completed, signed, and read in public for the first time. James Biddle's ancestors were already people of consequence in Philadelphia.
Philadelphia in the late 18th century was the largest city in America and considered itself to be the most refined and most cultivated and the most cultured. The United States considered itself the first true democracy since Greece. And Philadelphia was indeed known as the Athens of America.
A generation later, this was America's bank. And America's banker was Nicholas Biddle.
Nicholas Biddle was one man which really controlled the finances of the country, basically. He was the artistic and social leader of the city. He presided over all this from this house. This was his country place. You had your friends around you in those days in marble. And here you see Alexander Hamilton, who was a contemporary of Nicholas Biddle. Over here is George Washington. No house was complete without a bust or a portrait.
But this concentration of power in Philadelphia did not last. The bank Biddle ran crashed, and the nation's finance center moved to New York.
Philadelphia began to slip into its past. The stage of history had moved on from Philadelphia and sort of left the city with its memories.
Pennsylvania's own future lay to the west, over the mountains. It was, and largely still is, a wilderness state, forested, remote. Pioneers trying to cross this land discovered it is beautiful, but resistant. Getting over one mountain meant only meeting another. Some who set out to cross it stopped and stayed. Pennsylvania, particularly its northern half, is dotted with their tiny settlements. But the west, the new frontier, lay beyond. The future lay where the rivers broke free of the narrow valleys and flowed out through the heartland that stretched beyond the Appalachian Mountains. But in the land, in those mountains, lay Pennsylvania's fortune. They contained coal and iron ore, which made steel, and made of Pittsburgh, Steel City. A few men, like Carnegie, like Frick, made enormous fortunes from steel. Thousands of others, Slavs and Croatians, Serbians, Ukrainians, and Slovaks, came to work the steel. The deal was a life in America in exchange for your back and your strength. Today, the tradition of mill and mine is ending. The great city built where the Monongahela and Allegheny rivers join to form the Ohio, once the gateway to the west, is adjusting to the new reality. An historic urban renewal effort, the Pittsburgh Renaissance, has rebuilt the city, and now the focus has shifted away from heavy industry to the new technologies and service industry, from brawn to brains. With it has developed a rich cultural environment. A case in point, the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra. There's a slogan that explains how people feel in Pennsylvania. Work where you live where you work, and stay behind your hometown. That was the attitude behind Pittsburgh's Renaissance, and it's the secret of another city's ability to survive hard times. If Pittsburgh is where Pennsylvania's going, Johnstown is where it's coming from. It's in places like Johnstown that you find the muscle and bone of Pennsylvania.
My grandfather worked in the coal mines for 55 years. Starting when he was about 13. Now, they had it tough. Our parents were primarily, European immigrants. And they muddled through a lot harder times than this. People put up with 3 floods. Their parents came from Europe. They came here. They live in a place like this where it's cold, but they seem to stay for some reason. That's hard to find. Why? I don't know. Might be their roots. I don't know.
The folklore here is about coal and steel and the floods. Despite 3 devastating floods in less than 100 years, despite thousands of lost lives and ruined hopes, Johnstowners have refused to leave, for to leave would mean to leave each other. Instead, when the rivers go down, they rebuild. Disasters are not defeats. Disasters simply renew determination. The people are proud of being tough, proud that they stick together. Everyone knows they're connected to everyone else. The kids cheering for the hometown heroes are kids who've grown up knowing that loyalty counts. No one is too cool to care.
Next is, I can't remember his name, but I think some people around here know his name. That's Greg St. Clair.
To understand Johnstown, you should know this one young man and his family. They are special. So is Johnstown.
My goals in life are to be a good person, be a good Christian, and succeed and do the best I can in everything. I like to, go on to college and be good in college, play college football, and later on become a CPA and be the best I can in everything I do.
He won't be the first CPA in this family. Greg's father, Jake, rose from mill hand to accountant at Bethlehem Steel. Greg's the youngest of 7. The rest have moved out. but this is still home. The house is headquarters for a family which embraces everyone who comes within its warming orbit.
Blessed is the Lord, and these thy gifts which we are about to receive from thy mouth through Christ our Lord. Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
You don't have these people. We have Jake and Jan and Dinah and her husband and daughter.
Whoever wanders in office.
Yeah.
Kids are the most important thing. They've always been. I have always worked 2 jobs. I know maybe I didn't have to, but I did because I wanted to get my kids what I never had myself when I was a kid.
Jake's support extends to all his children. Naturally, that includes Tim, his son-in-law, laid off from Bethlehem 3 years ago. This is a state full of Tims, victims of the transition between the smokestack past and an uncertain future.
I do anything, haul coal, cut grass, paint houses, build stuff, anything. We managed, and her father and my parents, and a lot of help there. I eat supper there about 3 days a week, me and the kids. And he gives me money and everything. He's just like a second father. He just, whenever you need it, he's there.
Linda, Tim's wife, has been waitressing since the layoff.
I don't know what to say, except that we're really a close family. Mom will call Tim and ask him if he wants to bring the kids up for dinner since I'm working at night all the time. And they treat Tim like a brother. And Daddy, he just took me this week and went grocery shopping, and he spent $200 filling my cupboards for me. So they're really great to us. I don't think there's any family like my family. I'm prejudiced, of course, but I just don't think there is.
I think you got him in the back legs.
How many shots, Jeff?
Everywhere.
I don't have a knife. Hey, Jeff, you can use it for soup meat.
We're prime. Can we hunt now?
No one pretends this is a serious hunt, but it's a good excuse to be together.
We have a togetherness. We hunt together, we fish together, we go on trips together. We enjoy each other's company, to be quite honest with you.
The night of Greg's football game, there's no cheering section like the St. Clair's. Between the huge doll, a girlfriend they say for the team mascot, and the sweatshirts with Greg's number, the St. Clair's are a noticeable presence in the stands. 10,000 Johnstowners have turned out on this cold Saturday night to support their own. Greg kicks off. The brand of football they play here is as tough as this town. Coal mine tough. Steel mill tough. Lots of muscle and a little finesse.
Listen, we're spreading. Yeah. Okay? Watch Baker up the middle. That's your long responsibility. Okay?
And then, unbelievably, on the last play of this last game of Greg's senior year, and it's all the sweeter because his family's here to share Greg's glory.
Having them up there, it really means a lot to me. I feel like I'm playing for them, which makes me play much harder. As far as college, it doesn't matter if I leave, out of state. I'd like to come back to Johnstown. That's where my family is, and my family's a very important part of my life, so I plan on coming back to Johnstown.
Coming back home. They do that in Pennsylvania. In Lancaster County, the richest farmland in the East, a 13-year-old Amish boy controls his horse and harrow so not a single plant is crushed. His method, standard in the 1850s, is almost commonplace still in this corner of Pennsylvania. Here the Amish live as they choose, undisturbed in the tranquil, unchanging past. Pressure to blend with the majority belongs to other, newer places. Pennsylvania nourishes the special and the separate. The Amish leave the world alone. They don't go to movies, watch TV, or even listen to radios. The world, in turn, rarely gets a glimpse of the modest, private Amish way of life. On this dairy farm, Lydia Ann and John Lapp are raising their 7 children. They grow their own food, make their own clothes, and live much as their Amish ancestors did. For the Lapps, everything goes back to the Bible.
I'm reading through the Bible in a year. I'm trying to anyway. My teacher said if I read through the Bible in a year, and then he'll do something for us, whoever does. So I'm trying to every evening read some.
We're raising them for the Lord. We feel like they're his children, and we're just here to take care of them for a short time. We like to bring them up and teach them responsibilities at a young age. I used to tell the children, well, I don't know what for better recreation there would be than to work. I still didn't convince them of that, but I think as they grow up, why they'll learn to like to work.
Evidently, Ruthie is not yet convinced.
I think God has called us to raise a family for him. When my great-grandmother died, she had 337 descendants. Now, if I can cause 337 people to live for him and to apply God's principles in their lives, why, I think I have done what God has called me to do.
I think they enjoy their time to play more if they know that they have a half a day to work. And I found out already, if they don't have their chores, they don't even enjoy their playing as much.
He's still working on me to make me what I ought to be. It took him just a week to make the moon and stars, the sun and the earth and Jupiter and Mars. Loves me as I am and helps me when I pray. Remember, he's a potter on the clay. He's still working on me to make me what I ought to be. It took him just a week to make the moon and stars, the sun and the earth and Jupiter and Mars. How loving and patient he must be. He's still working on me. So, hi. This is my Father's world.
Because they believe hard work is the road to salvation, most Amish don't use mechanized equipment. But the Lapps belong to a sect that doesn't object to tractors. Still, progress has a price.
Since we have electric lights in our home, the teenagers, they have their homework and they'll go to their own rooms. I wasn't raised that way. You know, every evening we were together because we only had one light in the house and only heat in the kitchen, so naturally everybody would be together. It's kind of frustrating for me to see it happening.
Even in winter, when the first crop of snow freezes the fields and forces most of life indoors, the eye of the outsider still finds reminders that these people live their beliefs every day. Ken Hershey's farm lies on the road between Gap and Bird in Hand. His children are the 8th generation of this Mennonite family to grow up here.
This Jacob and Anna Hershey would be my great-great-great-great-grandparents. And it says here he was pioneer settler on a 218-acre tract. And he purchased it and moved here in May of 1792.
For Ken and Joanne Hershey, charity, faith, and forgiveness are basic beliefs, as much a part of daily life as 5 a.m. milkings. Even on Christmas Eve, especially on Christmas Eve, the day of their reunion with Tyrone Brown. What began as the summer visit of a child from the streets of New York became a true family relationship. Tyrone came here to live and grew up with the Hershey children. But in the end, there was trouble, and Tyrone left.
Well, at first I didn't miss him because he, I guess he needed money real bad, and he stole my shotgun and took it along back to New York with him. And so we were, you know, for all we'd done for him, we were kind of upset over the situation when he left. But, you know, that's all been forgotten and forgiven. And I think that was another reason he didn't want to come. He thought we'd still hold this against him, you know. But,
Finally, Tyrone is coming back to Pennsylvania.
I'm just as excited as they are, you might say, because they've been trying to get me to come out there for the longest. I just been holding back because I thought when I left, we left on pretty bad terms.
well, his parents were separated when he was just real little. He didn't have a good dad relationship at all. And so I kind of felt that maybe I could, over the years, maybe I could take the place of his dad and help him out that way, you know.
I'm not their blood child, but I'm still family, because I was like their first child before they had their own children.
It was hard for him to get used to the different culture. That was the biggest thing. New York City culture and Lancaster County culture are a lot different.
Joanne, she asked me what I wanted for Christmas, right? Well, I told her, I said, Joanne, you already gave me what I wanted. And she said, what was that? I said, your love and understanding.
Okay. For a long time no see.
Yeah, well.
You're almost a stranger.
This morning I was real tense. I was really in a frenzy.
Coming in here, I told Joanne I feel like I got butterflies in my stomach.
I was so emotionally drained, I couldn't hardly lift the suitcase because I was so tense. I finally calmed down. I picked up the suitcase. It felt like it weighed 300 pounds.
Shall we pray?
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you have given to us. We thank you for the warmth of this home. We thank you for our families. Thank you for the privilege of having Tyrone being with us this Christmas. May it be a special time for him as well.
If I had the chance to come back again, I'd do it again. And it'd be done the right way.
Philadelphia's green, Philadelphia's fine. A few more things to see and learn, I'm sure will blow your mind. Do Moving up the parkway, grooving on the drive. Philadelphia is a place that'll make your spirits fly. We got Independence Hall, we got Liberty Bell, we got South Street, Civic and up York. We ain't through
Philadelphia is a city composed of many diverse communities. Bringing them together for the common good wasn't easy, but then Wilson Good is an unusual mayor. He won office by challenging Philadelphia voters to focus not on their differences, but on their common goals.
Hello, Mayor. Senator, how are you? I'm ready to paint. I'm in my painting clothes. You look good.
Charles Folk and 23 other employees came together for their common good when this store was to be closed. They combined forces, borrowed cash, took out second mortgages on their homes, and bought the store.
You were honest about it, right, huh? And it'll give you a sense of pride when somebody walk in, one of your friends or something, this is my place. But you can work every week, you get paid, and you know your job's there. That's one good thing I have is security.
Did you ever see Bugs Bunny?
Because that's what everybody's here for, you know, to get a better life and to have a little bit of extra money to get over the hump in later years, right? I can't explain it, it's just joy. It's 3:30. When I sat in these meetings in this very same room, going over the different things, it was like we were itching to get to work. Give us a store and we'll work it. And
Pennsylvania's future depends on creating more entrepreneurs, risk takers like Charles. Charles, a businessman now, lends a hand to others who dream of following his example.
I'm human just like all of y'all, and I came out of the street and came into an organization. And this is your family, believe it or not, okay? And this family here, you may not go home with this family, but when you work, if you don't work as a team, then nothing's going to get accomplished.
July 4th is Philadelphia's day. Mayor Good kicks off the celebration.
For me and for all of us who live in this city and who live in this country, this morning is the 4th of July. This morning is Independence Day. This morning is America's birthday. Happy birthday, America. How do you do?
It's this little girl's birthday today.
Happy birthday, America.
Everyone's invited to this party. The theme is inclusion. Philadelphians are learning to reach beyond the separate enclaves which define their ways of life. The new word is coalition. In 100 small ways, the idea born 2 centuries ago is exuberantly alive.
truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Americans of all kinds have found a home in Pennsylvania. It's granted them a haven, a place for each group to grow on its own terms and discover its own strengths. Pennsylvania's future lies in bringing them all together. I'm Hal Holbrook.
Portrait of America, a comprehensive learning system, is available for classroom use from Raintree Publishers. For information about this video encyclopedia, call Raintree toll-free, 1-800-558-1580. That's 1-800-558-1580.